Board of County Commissioners for Thursday, December 8th. Before we get started, I want to recognize Commissioner Eggers for some comments.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity just to, since it is December 8th, it's the day after December 7th, obviously, and we don't get a chance to say too much about Pearl Harbor and how World War II actually got started. But I did want to acknowledge the veterans that are still alive. They had a ceremony in Hawaii, seeing it last night, a very solemn ceremony, remembering it 81 years ago. And they had 6 gentlemen in the front row, all over 100, all in their uniforms. Some attentive and feel like they could probably, strap it up and go to battle if they had to, and others that weren't in as good a shape. But clearly, as the years go by, we will lose all of them. And but I thought it was really a beautiful, solemn ceremony. And just as a moment, just take a moment of silence and remember the heroes that day, and the ones that continue to support our country around the world. So just a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that. All right. Commissioner Long will not be here this morning. And Janet, we're thinking about you and hoping for the best. Today on the agenda, we have affordable housing update, manufactured home community strategy update, a strategic planning update, and our agenda briefing. We're going to go a little out of order, and we're going to go to the agenda briefing, and we're going to cover the county attorney portion of the meeting first, and then we'll go back to our regular agenda. Our regular agenda for today, not the regular agenda briefing. Madam Attorney.
Well, thank you for accommodating my request to go out of order. So on your agenda, I'm just going to quickly go through some of the items. Some will take a little bit more explaining. I did want to go over them because I have some items that are out of the ordinary, including one that actually appears on your public hearing agenda. So on the receipt and file, on your consent agenda, just very quickly, that is a list of the lawsuits that have been served.
Say the number. Say the number item on the agenda,
sorry.
so everybody can track.
Number 18 is your receipt and file report. Again, those are just the lawsuits that have been filed since the last meeting that we will be defending on your behalf. So getting to the regular agenda, item number 33, we will not be taking action on. I know that our currently serving commissioners are aware of some of the litigation that we've had with Pepper Contracting. This case was actually court-ordered to go to arbitration. The arbitration that was set to occur earlier this month was canceled due to some illnesses from one of the parties, so we will be not acting on that item. Under 34, this is a request to file suit in a case that was investigated by your Office of Human Rights. This is a case of housing discrimination. Under item number 35, this is ratification of litigation that has already been filed pursuant to your resolution that allows the county attorney to seek authority from the chair in matters that are urgent. This related to a neglect situation with some animals. Under 36, this is a proposed settlement, which I have had the opportunity to speak with each of you individually about. Again, this is not something that we discuss publicly. If any of you happen to have any additional questions beyond which I have been able to speak with you, and I did speak with most of you, maybe not all of you. Commissioner Flowers, I'm not sure that we discussed it, but I will get a touch base with you. And actually, I can let you read it right now so that you'll be aware of what that is. This is a liability case. Under 37, this is a matter that you all only see when we have new commissioners joining the county commission. This is a request for the county commission to approve the public official bonds that have been issued for the new commissioners. This is a statutory function. You are all required to have public bonds in place. The amount of the bonds is set by a resolution that you all passed some time ago, and you all will simply be taking action to approve those bonds. Under item number 38, this is a little bit one of those different items I referred to. This is a resolution that we are bringing to you asking to again, designate the county attorney as the proper official to accept service of process on the county. We are bringing this to you because there is a statutory change that takes effect January 2nd. So you previously, well, not you all, but a former county commission back in 1990 adopted a resolution designating the county attorney as the proper public official upon which to serve process. There's a new statute, again, that will take effect in January that sets out a hierarchy of officials that may be served process on behalf of the county. It includes the chair-elect, any other county commissioner, the county administrator, and then going beyond that hierarchy pursuant to state statute, any employee located at your principal place of government could be served. So this is our attempt to express to process servers that the county attorney is designated to accept service and is the proper official here to accept service. Going beyond that, we have designated, in the absence of the county attorney, which really shouldn't happen, and again, that includes not just me, but all of the assistant county attorneys in my office. We have set out a hierarchy beyond that, which follows the statute and does include the county commissioners, the county administrator. It is our intent to, assuming this resolution is adopted by you all at your meeting next week, it is our intent to develop an informational and directional sheet that we can place in some of the other offices that are now designated by statute. That would include the county administrator's office. That would include at the 5th floor with your receptionist. We're going to leave that with the information desk down in the lobby, just in case somebody tries to, grab an employee down there. We want to make sure that we're getting word out to all the appropriate parties who process servers should be serving. So again, county attorney has already been designated as proper to accept service since 1990. So this is just a resolution updating that and trying to provide directions in conformance with the state law.
And the state law allows us to make that designation?
It does. You definitely have that authority, and it does say any employee located at the principal place of business, which of course is 315 Court Street.
I guess my question would be, it allows us to where a process server still couldn't just hand it to a county employee on the street and say, I've done my job.
We're hoping that would not happen. I can't speak for everybody out there. I think that I will say for sure, the regular process servers that we see, because we do get served with a lot of lawsuits, a lot of foreclosures because of the number of liens that the county has out there. We do get served with a number of lawsuits, and I would say our regulars, they know to come to our office. It's very easy. We're always there during business hours. There's 20 attorneys on my staff that, can be chosen from for our receptionist to grab to accept service. So I can't promise you that there might not be some errant attempts to serve somebody else, and I'll leave it at that. Maybe some gamesmanship, with some folks that might not want to pay attention to the official designation, but all the process servers out there now that regularly serve know to come to my office. So again, this is our attempt to try to prevent that.
But it wouldn't necessarily, that one bad apple.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Not
All right.
necessarily. But I will
just want to
say,
understand the structure that we're creating.
It does say employees at your principal place of business. So that should rule out field crews.
Okay.
People at satellite locations, because, and one thing I will say, the statute refers to service of process. Process includes summonses, which are lawsuits. It also includes subpoenas. And subpoenas can be a little bit more different. And one thing that we've said in here, we're not accepting subpoenas or lawsuits for individuals, except for the county commissioners or the county administrator acting in their official capacity. And the reason why we put that in there is, of course, we have employees that will get served with personal lawsuits.
Sure.
And we're trying to distinguish the two. Subpoenas can be a little bit trickier too, because they can either be for records or for testimony. And so we like to get those sent to the department that actually houses the records, and we'll come up with a process for that as well if we start to see those in my office. So we've kind of thought this through, and I think a lot of it we'll be able to handle with the informational sheet that we plan on putting out to the various departments with directions on what they should do if a process server shows up, and also what they should do if like for instance, if we get a subpoena for records, or Barry's office might get it, or your office might get it, to make sure it gets into the proper hands. What we generally see, a lot of the subpoenas that we get for records are going to the departments that we see the most lawsuits arise from. And not to pick on anybody, but a lot of them are public works and utilities. You all know that a lot of the liability suits that we see are trip and falls on sidewalks. Those are typically, well, they're almost always going to involve public works because they're the ones that maintain our sidewalks and build the sidewalks. Sometimes people might trip on a pipe that's a utilities asset. So it sort of depends, but we're going to do everything we can. And we answer questions pretty frequently from staff that get subpoenas or otherwise. So this really is kind of an update to your policy, but also intended to kind of officially restate your policy, given the fact that new statute is coming out. And we'll do what we can to make sure that we're informing process servers that come to our office regularly to make sure that they know about this.
Very good. Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Flowers, and then Commissioner. Microphone, please.
You and I spoke on Monday. It was about that
Yes.
case, so we have,
Well, it was a different case, and I'm going to get to that one.
All right.
But I'll get you an opportunity to take a look through this one. That's a different one. Because I have two settlements on the agenda.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just noticed on agenda item 37, for my public bond, at the top, the county says orange. Is that a big deal? Or do I need to move to Orlando?
No, we don't want you to move to Orlando. That would be problematic. Well, we'll take a look at that and make sure if we need to get it corrected, we'll get you to sign a new public official bond.
Okay.
I would consider that a Scrivener's error, but we will definitely follow up with the insuring company. I'm glad you caught that. That's not, not something that we caught, and I apologize for that, but we'll definitely follow up on that. And if we need to have a new one issued, we'll make sure that we get it and get you to sign it at the meeting on Tuesday and take care of everything.
Thanks.
But you're covered for now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, we're at county attorney reports, so let me just briefly say and bring to your attention something that I did want to share today. Just yesterday, Mr. Kroll, who's back there, and Christy Pemberton from my office were at the Florida Supreme Court arguing a case on your behalf. This involves the property that the county owns up in Pasco County. I know many of you are aware of the issue that we've had regarding payment of taxes. We did get, the Supreme Court did accept jurisdiction on this some time ago. We waited about 2 years for that to happen, but we did finally make it there. I think that Christy and Don did a wonderful job arguing on your behalf. I intend to email out to all of you the link to the YouTube video where you can watch that oral argument if you would so like. I admit I did not tell you all in advance because I did not want to make the two of them any more nervous than I suspect they already were. We had what I'll call a viewing party in my office, and I didn't even let them know that we were doing that just because it's it's something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for us. But they did a great job. I watched the video myself, and I'll send the link out to all of you so that you can see it. That case, of course, relates to payment of taxes. Our position was we don't need to pay the taxes because we're immune. Not really sure where the court will go. I would suspect it would be at least 6 months, somewhere in that vicinity, before we see an opinion. Our hope is that if they don't completely agree with us and say that, yes, you're sovereignly immune outside your county borders, and that extends to everything, we hope that they will at least limit the lower court ruling to taxes only are you not sovereignly immune outside your borders. Because, of course, one of the points we were making is these two attorneys from my office had to drive outside Pinellas County to get to Tallahassee. And had they been in a car accident, there could be an argument that there is no sovereign immunity because we were outside our own borders. I think the Supreme Court did ultimately get the other side to admit that that could be problematic for them as well. So hopefully, if they don't agree with us completely, they will at least limit their ruling.
So after hearing Mr. Crowell's argument, they didn't make an immediate declaration? I just don't understand.
I don't know. You're going to have to talk with Don about that. But it was an interesting argument. They definitely had more questions for our lawyers than they did for the folks representing the property appraiser up in Pasco. But I think that that's because we were the ones asking for the lower opinion to be overturned. And we were the ones really presenting the meat of the argument. So it was interesting to watch. I'll send out the link so that all of you, if you want, can watch it. It's only about 20 minutes, so it's not too lengthy. But it is, kind of interesting and not something that we do every day.
Very good. Commissioner.
Thank you. How much money are we talking about here?
The annual taxes, I want to say, are around $50,000.
$50,000 for 1 year, how many years are they looking at here?
This was an issue, historically, and don't hold me to these facts, but I'm going to say, generally speaking, for many, many, many years, we simply sent them a check that was the amount of the taxes and called it a payment in lieu of taxes. There was an Inspector General report that was issued back, I want to say like 2013, 2014, maybe something like that, that questioned us paying those taxes, saying, you shouldn't be paying those taxes. You're immune. You shouldn't be paying those taxes. So we stopped. And then litigation ensued.
So the broader issue is not just the issue of the money, we come up with something on that. In fact, we met with Pasco and said, let's work together on this. And what they really wanted was access to the land for their residents. And so our utilities department's been meeting with them on being able to open up a portion away from our wellheads and stuff and maybe make a park or whatever. And so we've offered to work with them. So it's not contentious at that level. It was really the property appraiser that made that determination and that caused this lawsuit, not the county administration. So we're working together, but it's not the amount of the money. It's whether or not your sovereign immunity applies. So that would apply to the land that we own, and somebody goes out on the land and gets hurt. Now, does our sovereign immunity apply? Well, it should, because Hillsborough County owns land down in Manatee County, and so lots of other, this is a statewide issue.
Right.
And so it's far greater than the issue of the money.
Right. Okay.
And very, very accurately summarized what our fears were, because it really does go beyond the taxation issues. And for that reason, we were able to convince Florida Association of County Attorneys to write an amicus brief. And they narrowed their focus to the sovereign immunity outside county borders and didn't really touch on the taxation issue, because of course, even though the other party is the property appraiser, it's viewed as a county versus county issue. So they very much limited it, because there's a lot of other counties out there and county attorneys that recognize that this could be a real issue. Unfortunately, we're the ones out there potentially making that bad case law, but we do hope that, at the very least, that the Supreme Court will limit their prior holding, which basically said you don't have that immunity outside your county borders.
Right. Great, thank you, appreciate
Yep.
it.
So the interesting and very different case that I have for you is on your public hearing agenda. And let me talk to you some about why that is. So this is under
57.
57 I'm helped out with. So this is, you'll see that it's listed as proposed settlement in the case reference there. Vertex Development is a communications tower company. They applied to the county for a type 2 use under your zoning code to allow a 120-foot tower in a zone where, let me say, camouflaged tower, in a zone where normally a 75-foot tower would be allowed. Your Board of Adjustment and Appeals heard that case and denied the request. I will say your staff had said, we have no objection to this, we recommend approval of this, which is why you're seeing a recommendation of approval here on this settlement case, but also a public hearing case. The reason why this is on your public hearing agenda is there's a lawsuit now. Vertex did not file just a straight-up appeal to circuit court, which is what would normally happen with a case before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. It's the same thing that would happen if you all made a determination on a zoning case and somebody wanted to appeal it. It would be an appeal to circuit court. Since this is a communications tower, the lawsuit was filed in federal court under the Federal Telecommunications Act. So it's in a bit of a different posture than what we would normally see. What the relief that is being asked for in that lawsuit is for the federal court to issue an injunction compelling the Board of Adjustment and Appeals to approve the 120-foot tower. You've heard me say it's camouflaged. This is located, would be located on church property where my understanding is the underlying lease requires it to be camouflaged as a cross. So it would have a crossbar making it look like a cross as opposed to just a straight-up standard communications tower. We were approached by counsel for Vertex wanting to settle the case, saying, if you all would agree to a 100-foot tower, we would settle the lawsuit. We're bringing it to you now because in federal court, our deadline for motions for summary judgment come up in January, and once that happens, the settlement is off the table, and we'll just proceed forward. So, in reviewing this agenda item with my attorneys that both advise the Board of Adjustment at their hearing and are handling the litigation, we determined that in order for you all, should you so desire, to grant the requested remedy of 100 feet, you would need to hold a public hearing because that's what your code requires. So this is on your public hearing agenda. Many of you are aware, most of you are aware that public hearings are not significantly different these days for many years now, since a statutory change that allows citizens to speak on any of your agenda items that you intend to take action on. The real difference here is that we have noticed it as a public hearing, which per your code includes notice on your website, posting at the property, and a mailed notice to a 250-foot radius of folks around the property. Your staff actually sent that notice out to a 500-foot radius around the property. Staff in your planning department also reached out to each of the citizens if we had their contact information, meaning they put it on their citizen comment card. So they reached out to each of the citizens that appeared and offered testimony before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. So we've done everything we can to make sure that that community there is aware that this is on your public hearing agenda. So again, what is being requested is that you all consider approving a 100-foot camouflaged tower. To put it in perspective, 75 feet is allowed as a matter of right. 120 feet is what was requested at the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. What they're asking for now to settle is 100 feet. So 25 feet higher than what they would be allowed as a matter of right. Just to give you all some additional perspective, your code requires that the communications tower be set back a minimum from neighboring properties of the tower's height. So what went before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals with the 120-foot proposal, that tower would be set back a minimum of 120 feet from neighboring properties. That setback would remain in place if you were to approve the 100-foot tower. I know there was some testimony about what happens should the tower fall. Ample, protections in place per the industry as to how these towers are designed now. You may hear some of that at your hearing, but that is the request. This is a little bit different in many, many, many ways, but one thing I will say to you, the other case that I mentioned on the agenda that I spoke with some of you about, that's confidential. We don't speak about that in those meetings. I will speak to you behind closed doors. I'll let you read our confidential memo. This one, we specifically asked the Vertex Development, the plaintiff in this case, to waive that confidentiality because we really couldn't see another way legally for you to actually take action on their request. So with that, I will stop talking and entertain any questions that anybody may have.
Questions? Commissioner?
So if I understood you right, so a 100-foot tower would still have the 120-foot setback?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay, got it. Great. Thanks.
And let me follow up by saying, if we did not approve the request and they went to a 75-foot, they could reduce it to a 75-foot setback.
So the church could do a 75-foot tower with the cross without the neighbors being able to
That's
really
correct.
do anything about it.
That's correct. And I should say, it's not the church doing it, it is the tower, but the church has the lease with the tower
Correct,
company, so yes. And what your code says is that 75-foot allowance is because it's camouflaged. I can't speak to it, and maybe staff in here can answer it. I think it's a lower height were it to not be camouflaged, like 50 or 55 feet, I think is what would be allowed without the camouflage.
Commissioner Eggers?
Real quickly, did the information that the Board of Adjustment took a look at to make their decisions, you did send that to us yesterday? The additional information, the site plan, the pictures?
So, staff I understand that staff will be bringing the maps to show at the hearing, an aerial that shows kind of a schematic of how it would look, and that staff will have those available at the hearing. The PowerPoint presentations and the more specific presentations that you see here are not typically used in front of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, but I did reach out to them, Commissioner Eggers, after speaking with you, and I know that information will be available at the public hearing.
Thank you.
One other thing I should add while we're on this topic. The Federal Telecommunications Act, it does confine you somewhat in the evidence that you can rely on in making your decision. So, and there is a brief summary of that in the backup in your agenda. It's only about a half a page. We tried to make it pretty short. But for instance, I know that when you hear, or the Board of Adjustment and Appeals hears cases related to cell towers, citizens will often testify about radio waves and things of that nature. That is not an allowable consideration for you all to entertain under the federal law. So you'll hear me at the outset of the public hearing speak a little bit about that to try to inform everybody and hopefully steer anybody that might be here to offer comments in a direction towards evidence that you can consider in making your determination.
And you'll go through the evidence that we can consider.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Scott.
And if we decided to not accept this settlement, then the alternative is?
The litigation will continue. And this is a case where there's no facts in dispute here. The facts are the facts. So what we'll be doing is moving forward with summary judgment motions, which is basically asking the court to consider what the right answer is under the law based on a given set of facts. We may win, we may lose. You know, we can't really say for certain, but should you not approve it, the litigation will continue.
Right. And they could get stuck with a 120-foot tower.
That is correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
We can't say that for certain, but that
Right.
certainly
That's
is an
certainly
alternative.
a possibility.
Yes.
Okay.
Further questions? Commissioner Flowers.
Not a question, but I guess just a comment. I may have said this when we spoke. I guess my concern is when the Board of Adjustment is making these decisions, they're not the same for each case. And so that puts us as commissioners in a bit of a quandary, because if you approve one for 120 feet, same facts, but then you don't approve another, then we will have this going forward. We can't tell, of course, BOA what to do or how to rule, but they really need to look at some conformity use when they're making these judgment decisions, or else we'll continue to have these types of litigations that come, which essentially say they can still build at 75 feet. Lakeview Presbyterian Church in St. Pete is one of those churches that has a tower that was made into a cross. You can still see it's a tower, not really a cross, but that's how they, were able to get around it when I served on city council. So, I just hope that they'll consider some of that when they're making their decisions, because essentially, it's going to cost us to go into litigation, time and money, and we could lose, and they still get what they want. So, anyway, just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
And there is, if you look in the backup, like I mentioned, I did include the staff report to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals that does go through the criteria that are in your code that board should be applying. So that is in there for you all to take a read through. I will say there was, at this particular meeting, another tower on the agenda that was approved for a greater height. But it was in a far less residential neighborhood, is my understanding. I wasn't at the hearing, let me just say that straight up. It was in a far less residential type neighborhood. And you'll see the denial letter that that was sent out by staff after the Board of Adjustment reached its opinion, stating that their determination was it was not compatible with the aesthetic character of the neighborhood. So you're right, we're going to see different results, but we're also going to see that based on different facts. And from speaking with staff, again, I wasn't at that hearing, but from speaking with staff, those two different determinations on communication towers at that same hearing were based on very different facts. And this is in the agenda memo. What we're talking about is, this is off of Oakhurst Road at Christ the King Lutheran Church. And what I've been advised is that there's a great deal of residential properties surrounding that. So, different facts are going to lead to different conclusions. And I'm not sure if I got to all of you with the other settlement, so I'm going to approach each of you all and let you read this settlement memo if I didn't actually speak to you about it. And that, I know, was more than you're used to hearing me speak about, but I had a number of items on the agenda this time around, and some of them obviously a bit out of the ordinary.
Sure. Any other questions for the attorney? All right. Thank you very much. Moving back to work session agenda, item number 1, affordable housing update. Mr. Burton.
Good morning, Commissioners. So we have 3 items under the regular agenda. The first is an update on our affordable housing plan, and Evan is on his way up, and so he will start this presentation.
Good morning. Evan Johnson, Planning Division Manager with Housing and Community Development Department, and I will be speaking along with Bruce Bussey from our Community Development Division about, to provide an update about the things we've accomplished in the last year and what we're targeting in the coming year in FY23 and calendar 23. So I am going to try to provide a little bit of context to our housing programs. I know we have new commissioners, so I'll move you through it as quickly as possible, but we're here for questions. If you have a question along the way, please don't hesitate. So we've been working on a housing strategy at the county for a couple of years now, and we've essentially broken this down into 2 kind of main elements. Pinellas County as an entity has responsibilities at the countywide level as well as for the unincorporated county where we have land use control. We have, and Bruce will speak more to this in his portion of the presentation, we have an affordable housing development program that not only utilizes some of our state and federal funding sources, but also the Penny for Pinellas set aside that was granted from the 2010 to 2030 penny, and he'll be providing an update on that. We have a housing compact, which is a multi-jurisdictional agreement that we have been in the process of developing and having other local governments approve. And essentially what it is it's a memorandum of understanding between first the major cities, but again, I'll talk about how we're trying to expand the footprint, about how we want to align our affordable housing efforts. So that is something that we've continued to work on, and we're really excited about the next year, some of the events and opportunities we have with that. We will have a summit in April, Homes for Pinellas. This will be our second one. We did one a couple years ago, and we've also done Tenants' Bill of Rights as well. Unincorporated county, that's more specific to our land use, our zoning, and manufactured housing, which I'll be talking a little bit about in a following presentation. So as far as the compact itself, since the BCC adopted and signed the compact back in February of 22, we have continued outreach to both the business community, chambers of commerce, as well as other cities, trying to get their involvement in it. Our good friends at Forward Pinellas have been very helpful in getting out and helping us with those presentations as well. That outreach will continue. I'm not going to announce any new signatories yet, but I feel pretty confident that we will have at least one in the coming month. And we're also working on our outreach to business community more directly and getting them more directly involved. I did a presentation last night down in Bay Pines area at St. Pete College, 2 chambers down there about how to get involved more directly with housing, and I think that's going to be a big focus of us moving forward. We've also completed a draft action plan, which is required under the compact, and we talked through that with our community partners about a week and a half ago. They're going to be providing comments, and then we hope to bring that forward in the coming months to, at the summit particularly, to talk about that and what that means moving forward. So our goal is to add at least 4 more municipal signatories to the compact this year. Adopting that countywide action plan, that will take place, our hope is, at the Housing Summit in April. And we are working, if you haven't checked out Homes for Pinellas, the website, please do. We're using that as our kind of launching point for housing initiatives throughout the county. We will be updating that with new information in the coming months as well, working with our communications department as well. And then finally, completion of a regulatory toolkit and adoption for our local communities. The purpose of this is to really provide technical assistance and guidance for particularly those communities who may not know what best practices look like and may not have the capacity necessarily that the county or St. Pete or the other big cities have to go out and get a consultant to help with that. We're trying to put together kind of a how-to guide really to help those communities make changes to their codes and their plans to facilitate affordable housing. Tenants' Bill of Rights, I won't go into much detail here. It is available for detailed reading on rent.pinellas.gov. This became active in October. It has requirements related to, first, you have to provide tenants with their Bill of Rights, a listing of rights under state and local law, notices of late fees, notices of rent increases, and it does also prohibit discrimination based on source of income. St. Pete is the other community in the county who has an ordinance. They have maintained their ordinance while our ordinance continues to apply everywhere else in the county. And they actually, I have not had a chance to read them, but they've been going through some updates to their ordinance as well, which I'll make sure to have available if there are questions in the coming weeks. Revising ordinance, we will be looking at it. Again, lessons learned all the time with a new ordinance, so we'll be looking at that again and bringing any recommendations back to you all in the coming early next year for consideration to make sure that we're working as closely as we can and as efficiently as we can. We are getting very far down the road with our land development code update. This is focused on affordable housing. We have worked with our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and taken their recommendations over the last year and started to incorporate those into code changes. We expect to bring those ordinance updates to you. We will present to you in March, and then we'll be moving forward with adoption soon thereafter. So you'll be seeing those from us, and they will be addressing several different facets of how we can make it easier, faster for developers to build affordable housing and housing more generally, but this is very focused on affordable housing. And just a mention of the advisory committee, for those of you who may not know, the AHAC is required under state law. It is a requirement to have them meet and make recommendations on our affordable housing incentives on an annual basis. That is a requirement to receive state SHIP funding, which we use for housing programs. So they have met several times last year. We're excited to have a very active, it's a mix of developers, affordable housing developers, people in the affordable housing space. We had formerly, Commissioner Gerard was on the AHAC committee as well. So it's a very active group, and we're excited to work with them moving forward on other recommendations. And now I'm going to hand it over to, of course, I'll stop with any questions if there are questions about that first part. Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Flowers.
Not a question, just the update from the city of St. Petersburg last week when they made their decision to opt out of ours and to continue with their current ordinance. However, they did extract one piece of it, which deals with landlords who refuse to accept the support assistance payment for those individuals who are moving in. So, and they said they'd leave the door open to have conversations at a later date as to whether or not they wanted to change their mind about opting into the Tenants' Bill of Rights that we passed. So just updating since that was before.
And I thought that was what it was. I didn't want to misquote. They did formally opt out of it. They didn't have to per the ordinance, but that was something they felt their city attorney decided that it was important to do. Mm-hmm. And we both have they adopted a notice of rent increase provision more recently, which was in our ordinance. So we're trying to align them as closely as possible so that there's a consistency across the county. So,
But thank you.
Yeah, on the compact, when you're talking to the other cities and trying to get more folks on board, I was listening to the presentation last night, and one of the issues the private sector was saying is that you have 24 cities and they all have different rules and regs and density bonuses and all of that. What are the kind of the issues that you're running into with the cities getting on board? What are they bringing? Because the big NIMBY issue obviously popped out last night in the conversation. Everybody's for it, but they don't want it here, you know. So what are you hearing?
And that's basically, I mean, we've had, Ford Pinellas particularly, Linda Fisher has been an amazing presenter running the circuit. She's really good at that. She's presented to Oldsmar, she's presented to Safety Harbor, she's presented to Gulfport, and I believe Treasure Island. We've gotten a lot of support for the ideas, certainly some more than others. Generally, it's kind of what does it mean for us, and what are we really going to do? That NIMBY issue is, you know, hey, we're a really high-value, small community. How can we play a role, and what does it really matter? And we're trying to encourage them to say this is a first step, and this is really about trying to create an aligned vision and operation manual, if you will, moving forward across the county. We're not saying you must do everything. We're saying that we've committed to work together. And so I'm sure in the coming months we'll continue to get some feedback. But generally speaking, it's, the big communities that started are all entitlement communities. which means they get those benefits from the state and the federal government. They're all very active in the affordable housing space. So for them, it makes a lot of sense. For all of us, it makes a lot of sense because we see the benefits. We work together all the time on housing issues. When you get to the smaller communities, we're not as engaged. They don't have those entitlement programs. And so we're really trying to frame it and to say, look, this is why it's important. And you heard this last night at the meeting, and I thought, and I won't take credit for it, it was Sean from Habitat for Humanity brought it up, but I endorsed it completely. But we really have to start talking about housing as an economic development issue. And that affects everybody across the board. Doesn't mean that everybody needs to live in Treasure Island. It means that we need to have housing available to the folks who work in places like Treasure Island, Clearwater Beach, and various other places. So I think that's going to be, you're going to see more of that framing in the coming year as we continue to move out. And we really want to use the summit in April as an opportunity to kind of bring that message home to the public sector and the private sector.
The only other question is that we've talked about it here, that I always forget the House bill was at 1339 that provided a lot of flexibility, actually complete flexibility for our industrial lands to be converted completely to affordable housing. And really even I think the latest version was it could even go into other types of housing and retail use.
Mixed use, yes, sir.
So I guess the idea, when you're connecting economic development or new jobs and higher paying jobs with housing, it's such a critical connection. Maybe there's an opportunity to let our legislators at least think over the idea that, because when I first heard the bill coming down, I thought it was a piece of the land, a percentage of the land that could be used for affordable housing, right. Which, in some ways makes some sense. I think St. Petersburg did a nice project up in North St. Pete that way. They took a big pie and took a quarter of it and put it into housing, and the other they left for industrial land. So I'm just wondering if there's any appetite are you hearing any appetite for perhaps protecting that while at least acknowledging the importance of affordable housing in those industrial lands?
Well, I think that's exactly the tension. We are in the final stages, and I know Whit is here from Ford Pinellas if there are specific questions about the TEAL study, the industrial land study. We are wrapping that up. The Ford Pinellas Board will be hearing recommendations I think early next year as far as that study. And the purpose of that study is to say, all right, traditionally we've protected industrial lands because of target industry. And this study is going to say, well, we needed to look at whether the target industries had changed and their land use needs had changed. Because ultimately, 1339 and SB 962, which was the mixed use version from this past year, they certainly, we're comfortable with wanting to implement provisions, but we want to make sure we're doing it in a responsible way. And so I think those recommendations, we've already talked to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. We're going to be bringing those recommendations to them in the coming year as part of their work program next year as well. So I think we're definitely open to that flexibility. I think I will just say this for you, something Sean mentioned last night at our meeting, was that he was claiming that we don't allow affordable housing and housing more generally in a lot of our commercial districts, at least in the unincorporated county, is not the case. We do allow residential in a lot of our commercial general zoning and land use designations. So it's, part of it's education, part of it's, making sure we're all on the same page. But again, going back to that, we're all a little different in each community. There are 24 different ways of approaching these things.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many municipalities have adopted the Pinellas County Tenant Bill of Rights?
So it was a county-wide ordinance, so it applies automatically unless you specifically opt out of it. And St. Pete already had an ordinance. We worked with them when we created ours, and then they went ahead and formally opted out of it as well, but nothing changes. So it applies countywide. It's actually county enforced.
Okay, so only the city, so unless you're in the city of St. Pete, it applies?
You will apply, yes, sir.
Okay. And then last question, does the county have their own voucher program or participate or support financially any sort of voucher program?
We don't have our own voucher program specifically. Those are our housing authorities are the ones who have that. St. Pete, Pinellas County, and Clearwater have voucher programs that we've been working with them, but we don't have specific vouchers. We have, over the last year, and Bruce can speak to this, we've had emergency rental assistance and those types of programs, which were allocated through the county.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the manufactured homes, does that also include tiny homes as a part of the manufactured homes piece, or is that just like the Palm Harbor homes?
I will be glad to speak about that next presentation.
Oh, okay.
I'll be right back up here for the manufactured homes.
I'm gonna jump ahead, and I will email to you all. I was appointed to the National Association of Counties Affordable Housing Task Force that they've put together. We had our first meeting in Washington, D.C., and there was some really good tools that have been put out through Duke University because they just completed a housing study. So I'll make sure I send that information to you guys. It was very interesting. But I was proud to be able to share that a lot of what we're already doing, they had in their plan to do. So we are already ahead of the curve on that one. So just wanted to share that information. The other is, I do find it interesting that Sean would say that because the project that Habitat got for the 47 townhome units on 18th Avenue, that's a commercial area that they just won that from the city of St. Petersburg. So they are currently participating in that restructuring.
And I would only bring up Sean's name because we love him.
Oh, well, I serve on the HLA and
He gives me a
COC
hard
with
time at every meeting when I'm sitting next to him, so I have to occasionally give him a hard time when
Yeah,
it's.
well, I serve on the COC and HLA with him, so, but that's why I was.
But it's hard to keep up with, because again, every different jurisdiction has a different rule, right? So maybe what St. Pete and we do is different in Clearwater or somewhere else. So that was his point.
Commissioner Peters.
Thanks. And, this is a little different, but we talked about, I don't know, maybe not quite a year ago, because we kept referring to workforce housing and not necessarily affordable housing. And so we were going to do some kind of directory or something, because I know the schools are going to do affordable housing for teachers. And if we have industries that are in need of affordable housing for their workforce, how are we letting them know? How are we directing them to where that workforce housing is? And so where are we on that?
Well, we certainly, at a very basic level, there is information available on Homes for Pinellas as far as like where the subsidized, affordable, subsidized, underwritten housing exist within the county. We are ramping up and continue to ramp up our outreach, particularly to the chambers, as kind of that conduit of information as to where to get information about the housing opportunities, any innovative, things that are being done here locally or more broadly. I think, at that conversation I had last night, you can tell there's interest, but there's also like, what do we do? How do we get involved more directly? And I think our goal is we really want to educate folks. These are the housing units that are being provided by, whether it's funded or not, that are provided for folks who are workforce level,
But in specific, Evan, you put a link on the website that takes you to the state page where they keep that
Right.
list updated.
Right.
And so people can go there and see, because you asked me that question, I'm like, I wouldn't know where to send someone.
Right.
Because that would be a list that changes daily. But that's provided by the state, and so we put that on our website as a link. That's a one where you can go to
Okay,
to
so
try
that
to find and
directory
search
you were
units.
talking about, we're not doing that.
Say again?
You were talking about doing some kind of directory, so we're not going to do that, we're just
Well,
doing this link and educating?
We put the link because it's the state that maintains that directory, because those units would change every single day. So there's no way in which we could maintain a directory of, we
Okay.
wouldn't even have the information.
Okay.
So we made that link available on our page too, but it takes you to the state where they maintain that.
Okay, so we went away from the directory, and now we're just going to do education about that? Is that what we're doing now?
I would say that for now, we continue to explore and see what options are there, but again, we don't want to remake what is being done, and it's Florida Housing Finance Corporation maintains that website. So they're the ones who are, those landlords are the ones receiving a lot of that funding, so they're advertising on that website as well. So it's a much more robust
Okay.
platform and something that's been around for a while. So we want to educate to that as well.
Okay, because I know if fire departments need, or paramedics need it, it may not be a chamber thing, because a lot of those don't necessarily go with chamber. The hoteliers that need housekeeping, that'll work with the chamber thing, but, okay. All right, thank you. I just wanted an update on that.
Commissioner Latvala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the Tenants' Bill of Rights was passed last year, did municipalities express support for it?
Yes, we took that to the city managers group and just discussed it in general. So I can't tell you, we didn't ask for them to, and we certainly didn't go out and do 24 presentations. We simply said, tell us if you're concerned about this, and then here's the opt-out provision. They generally, again, without a formal vote or anything, said it makes sense to do it countywide if you're going to do it, and especially because we were going to be the ones to enforce it. You know, because most of them wouldn't have the staff capability. We have a consumer protection division, and so we have the capability of enforcing it and following up and investigating.
And I would only add that we worked very closely with all of our compact partners when we drafted it. So Clearwater, St. Pete, all those folks, we coordinated closely with the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County and their departments who also have a tenants' bill of rights. So we definitely worked closely with a lot of our municipalities, and we talked to, I remember conversations with like Safety Harbor, Oldsmar, Dunedin, where we actually met with their staff and at least had conversations. So they made sure that their city managers knew what was going on as well. So it was a collaboration. So we didn't really hear a lot of pushback.
Most of the larger cities are the ones that he works with because they have staff to be able to work on housing issues and stuff. A lot of the smaller ones, they don't have any staff or anything, so there's really no input, you know, from there. No opposition, but.
Any other questions for me?
The last thing I'll just say, you know, because we're talking about affordable housing programs, is, you know, we're running into significant issues regarding cost. You know, the cost has skyrocketed, and so, you know, we're challenged with projects where they're coming back and asking for more money to make the project go. And so you're going to be seeing some of those. We're doing staff analysis, but, you know, it's a challenge. At what point do we say, you know, it's too much subsidy, government subsidy, for this project to go forward, and whether or not is the market going to settle out, and we're not going to have so many supply issues and things like that, which is what the developers are dealing with. So I just put that on the radar because it's a significant issue, and we got several projects that we're evaluating right now.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, and on that point, Barry, you know, it's easier to be able to focus on that cost. Not that it's an easy solution, but the counter cost to it is if we don't address it, we're losing people. They live in a different county and they work here. And at some point, and we're already, if you talk to our business owners, our hotels, our governments, we're all running at about 80, 90% of people. So we're short already. So if we're not making connections and we're not looking at this, I guess, all the partners working together, we're just going to have long-term costs that, when compared to the cost that we're talking about, may be significantly more. I mean, I'm not all for helping these developers out. They've got risk associated with it, but the reality is they won't pull the trigger if they're losing an opportunity. They got to be able to turn some money, some positive gain. So I'm all about that. I just want to make sure that if we don't do it, the cost could be greater next year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, as we lose people to other counties. They start to commute, and then they say, well, I've got another opportunity up here, so I'm just going to stay close to home, and they don't.
And you're right, because what we've seen with the labor market change is, I mean, even county employees, they live up in Pasco, right? Well, you know, Pasco's starting to pay more now because they have to. But that's always been our competitive advantage. Well, they've started to increase their wages because they had to, and so it becomes less attractive to do that commute. And so it becomes a competition thing for labor. And but to give you some examples, we've been shooting in that $35,000 to $40,000 range on a subsidy. We met with Dunedin, and this is months ago, and it was way over $70,000 per unit. And I'm like, well, no, and so they're going to go back and they're going to work with the developer, and they're going to, you're trying to get 4%, 9% tax credits. You're trying to piggyback these different funding sources to be able to bring that down. We are looking at the developer profit to make sure that it's, they're not trying to push that over onto a public side, but these costs are significant. We're seeing these costs almost double in some cases, and that's a challenge, because then, and that's the reason we're going to have the conversation. What's the comfort level, with the amount of public funding that we put into these projects? And we don't have a, a silver bullet or, a right answer. That's the reason we're evaluating these. But it's a significant issue that the developers are facing, and we're going to have to make a decision one way or another.
Yeah, it's interesting that the school board obviously is looking at taking some of their lands and converting it to some housing for their employees. I know that a couple of baseball organizations, so I was thinking about the private sector, but a couple of baseball organizations are now building apartments to house their people longer because they don't have the housing here. And, they're putting them in hotels and that kind of thing. So I think the business piece of that is going to have to be a part of the solution, and how they take care of their own. I mean, it's obviously all the units have to be at the table to try to make it happen, but they're the ones that are hurting as badly as anybody else. So
I put the cost off. The issue is trying to get the housing compact to where you can bring the experts together and everybody can have input to come up with creative solutions to some pretty complex issues. And that's really what they were speaking to today.
All right.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Bussey. Great segue into the next portion of our presentation, where we're going to focus on the Affordable Housing Development Program and basically the financial aspect of providing dollars to produce affordable housing. Today's presentation really is just an overview of the last 2 years. Affordable Housing Development Program's been implemented by the county for decades, but it was really about 2.5 years ago when the Penny for Pinellas funds were added to the resources that we had to really expand the program. So we're going to focus today just kind of over what's gone on in the last 2 years in terms of trends, things that we're seeing in the market, projects that that the board's committed funding to, what the status of those are, and the cost challenges that we're seeing kind of across the board, across the market, and where the program's headed. So with the Affordable Housing Development Program, we have a variety of resources that we provide to the development community to buy land and construct affordable housing. One of the more innovative parts of our program, we do use a land trust for many projects. That has the benefit of the county acquiring the land, owning that land in perpetuity, so that that's going to be preserved for affordable housing forever, essentially. And so that's one of the more, not every jurisdiction has that. The allocation of the penny funds as a local resource, that's another sort of, if you will, cutting edge aspect that most jurisdictions do not have. And so, another key component that we need to focus on is mixed income housing. There's a lot of different definitions when we talk about affordable. What is that? Is that very low income, low income? And so what we really try to do with the program as we implement it is to fund projects that are providing housing at a range of different price points to a range of different income levels. In terms of trends and conditions, I think you're probably all quite familiar with, over the past couple of years, housing prices have skyrocketed, both in the homeownership, for sale housing market, and also rents. We've seen rent increases over the last 2 years that are unprecedented. And so everybody in the market, from homeowners trying to move, trying to upgrade their houses, to renters, are really suffering from increased costs. So there's never been a greater need for affordable housing, but at the same time, we're seeing more and more challenges to producing that affordable housing. Land availability in Pinellas County has been a challenge for years. It's only getting harder in terms of finding land that's available to be redeveloped. Those redevelopment costs are typically much higher than green space and undeveloped land. Over the past 2 years, the construction cost increases, we've seen those rising at least 30% or more over that time period. The cost of labor, inflation on top of that, material shortages, hurricanes, just a lot of things have been driving those costs up. And so what does that do to construction? It extends that timeline, whereas in the past you could kind of account for a 10, 15% increase. Now those numbers are just so much higher that you don't have that. And so we're seeing a lot of applicants come back to us needing additional assistance for projects that were originally committed to in 6, 12 months ago. And it's not just the cost of developing those projects. It also affects the long-term operating cost of a multifamily rental housing project. When credit costs are going up, interest rates are going up, that means those loans that they're getting from banks, from the private sector, that's going to be additional cost over the life of that project. Insurance costs continue to increase. That's also impacting the operational cost of projects in the future. So as Barry mentioned, a lot of the projects that the board's committed funding to over the past 2 years have faced various delays for various reasons, and pretty much all are experiencing some cost increases. This list of projects are basically the largest multifamily projects that were committed funds to over the last 2 years. A couple of those have been completed. They were, kind of near the finish line when were funded earlier. The Shores, Skyway Lofts, 2 projects in St. Pete, those are complete, quickly leased up. All the other projects are in a various stage of either under construction or have been delayed because of some cost increases. Back in September, the board allocated additional funding to the Seminole Square Apartments project. That project is closed and they're starting construction. We've got a couple more projects that we anticipate having to come back, looking for some additional funding to see those projects move forward. Before we bring those to the board, we certainly work closely with the developers to see if they, first of all, making sure those cost increases are justified and well documented, and what they've done to try to fill that gap. Are they going to the local jurisdiction? Are they maybe reducing their developer fee? And have they taken all the steps they can to lower those costs?
Before you move on, we go back to that one. Just want to ask a question about the Lellman Heights project. Can you get us a timeline, just a one-page timeline of that project from when we acquired the land to why it's taken us so long to get to where we are today?
Yeah, I can certainly put that together. We've got that. I can send that out. Cost increases have certainly been the most recent impact. There's been some other delays for environmental concerns that have come up because we've got some federal funds that can cover those costs, and so they've had to do some additional due diligence, environmental review work to use the federal funding. But we do anticipate bringing that to the board in the early part of the next year for those additional costs that will finally get that project off the starting line. But yeah, we'll put together a specific timeline of the whole project for you.
It just, this one's been a long time. And I always go back to think about the other 2 projects that we have nearby where, and it's always that quantity, I don't want to say quality, but quantity and immediacy of response of how fast we can turn around, single-family homes that would be home ownership versus how long it's taken us to build apartments. So we've had all those years where we haven't had these 86 units or these others, but and I'm not as familiar with Whispering Pines as I am with the Heights, but anyway, I'd appreciate to see that timeline because I know that right now we're all seeing the inflation, we're all seeing the supply chain and those kind of things, but this project was started long before supply chain was a phrase that we talked about. So I'd love to see that timeline. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll certainly do that. And I would just add that, this project's a little bit unique in that it's, not vacant land to build 86 units on, but it was 50 different properties, occupied units. And so there's been, a lot of pieces to that puzzle that are a little bit unique. So that's caused some of the delays.
Well, and I think that's why it would be helpful to see some of that, because I've just heard some of those things, and I think having that full picture of the whole project will be helpful, and as I'm out in the community talking with folks. So,
absolutely.
Thank you, Bruce.
Good question.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the Fairfield Avenue Apartments, which used to be Tibbetts Lumber Company, are they asking for additional funding from us and the city, or just us?
Both us and the city. They've had very significant cost increases on their construction. That's an interesting case example because that's a project that's using House Bill 1339 to build on formerly industrial land.
Right.
Which, that concept in terms of where you can do it is great, but it still doesn't necessarily cover the cost. And so they're looking at another $5 to $7 million gap based on their new construction bids. So yes, they have been talking to the city. They've been talking to us. We're, negotiating with both to see, what the city can contribute and to sort of minimize the gap that we'll bring back to the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, whatever side of the aisle you sit, I mean, the fact is that Florida has become a very attractive place to come. So even if we had no growth in our county, the challenges are here and they're real. I would suggest maybe, I don't know if we're tracking or not, but the number of people that are continuing to come in on a weekly, monthly basis somehow, because I think some of these developers, and I don't know for a fact, I'm just saying if I'm a developer, I'm thinking of other opportunities that change the picture that we're looking at. So it may be increasing costs, but it may be also other opportunities that are coming along that all of a sudden, the rents that they can get from those apartments, less risky, more rents, they start to change their mindset about what they really want. So they're asking for more money to make these projects. So I don't know how we're looking at that, how we're comparing the projects, just to make sure that the requests are in line with what we're looking to do or not. So it's a big deal. I mean, and again, I don't know what the numbers are right now, but it's clearly an attractive state and a very attractive area.
And you may recall a project that the board committed funding to, 6090 on Central in downtown St. Petersburg area. Board committed over $5 million to that. The city of St. Petersburg committed project dollars to that to make a portion of it affordable. The developer ended up walking away from those resources to go with the fully market rate product because of, to your point, the rents that they could command based on rent increases and projected ongoing rent increases. So we have lost a project or two for that very reason. I don't think that applies to Fairfield because of the limitations that it does have to be affordable based on the city's ordinance and House Bill 1339.
But each developer has a certain capacity to build, and if it's not on that land, it could be on something else. So just, I mean, I think that's something that we're gonna continue to deal with for a while. I mean, again, I don't know what those numbers are looking like now versus a year ago when it was absolute chaos in the real estate market in terms of sale prices of homes, but that all trickles down in all of these projects as well. So anyway,
We are starting to see construction costs stabilize some, but at the same time, interest rates are now going up, and so those borrowing costs are increasing, and so it's, getting better here, but getting worse there, so.
thank you.
Mr. Burton?
And Commissioners, the reason the housing compact is so important is to get all the municipalities aligned with doing that, because if you look at that list, go back one slide, you only see the one project up there where we're getting the mixed use, where we're getting 415 units and 124 of those being affordable. The whole goal when we went into this is for them to set aside 20% of the units and we did an outreach to the business community, to developers saying, we see all the units that were built along 19, very few of those were affordable units. And but there's programs out there, but they don't want to deal with it. I mean, that's a lot of bureaucracy, and if you're not in that business, it's hard, that's a whole nother layer. But and the market's just been so great, they've just continued to build. So, there's some areas that we can target, but that's where we've got to work with them to get density bonuses and things like that, even though you're going to hear about it when you do that, and that's the only way you're going to be able to bring some of these costs down, because otherwise you're going to run out of money out of the penny real quick in terms of the total units.
So in this case, at this list of them, there's only one project up there that we're actually leveraging their development into some more affordable housing.
That's correct. And remember, if you recall back when we started this several years ago, we actually hired a firm that helped us go out to active developers that are not traditionally in the affordable housing business to say, work with us. We've got some money, and work with us on expanding that supply. And that way you get it in all parts of the county, and you get mixed use developments, mixed use and different demographics. So those are some things we need to work on, because it's not a one size. We got to hit all these different areas, not just the people that are traditionally affordable housing builders.
Commissioner Latvala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this question, you may have the answer to. The Leoman Heights project that you mentioned, when was that approved originally?
The project, I don't know when it was approved. The land acquisition, I believe, was 2015, 2016. But that was the old D&D missionary properties there, like 58th Avenue, not far from the old fire station. But that's why I was asking for the timeline, because there was it took us some time to put out the RFP and then all of those kind of things. But I believe it was 15.
So that leads me to my next question. So is there protections that we put in place that protects the county when a developer says, hey, sorry, I need more money or else the project can't continue?
Yes,
Due to rising costs or or labor shortage or whatever?
They can request additional funding. It's up to us whether we provide it, and then they just walk away, and then then there's no county funding involved. If we provide them funding, they build the units, there's covenant restriction on the property to keep it affordable. And there's an enforceability
So
provision within
a
that.
time, I think, like a time when we lock in the price and then it's guaranteed. And then there's, I assume, repercussions for the developer, right? Is that what you're?
Correct.
So basically, when we provide, let's say, a $3 million construction loan, we provide that loan at the closing, and they've also got their other resources to build the project. So we don't go to closing until they've got, let's say it's a $20 million project, the county's providing $3 million, there'll be a closing. We provide a loan for that $3 million, but we don't provide the dollars up front. We reimburse for construction costs, and so we're not paying for those costs until they occur if it's a construction project. Now, if it's a land acquisition, at the closing, we don't typically buy land unless they've got their other sources of funding in place, so that we're buying the land, leasing it to the developer, and they've got their other construction sources ready to go to develop the project. And then within those documents where we provide the loan or acquire the land, there are security instruments that, should they fail to perform, we could actually foreclose on the loan if it gets partially constructed. So there are a variety of security instruments put in place to protect the dollars and try to ensure that the project not only is completed, but then during the life of the project, they meet the affordable housing requirements.
The only thing, Bruce, I would correct you is the 6090 project was not in downtown St. Pete, but on the west side of St.
West
Petersburg.
of downtown. I believe there's a new transit line running through there, but makes it even more attractive, right?
That's what I've heard.
Okay, this next slide, we just kind of wanted to, and we've kind of touched on the various resources, but this is a summary of the dollars that come into play with those projects that we just looked at, and kind of showing the portion of the county funds. I mean, it's a lot of county funding, but when we look at these projects, it's, a small percentage of the overall dollars going into arguably these economic development activities, but most importantly, these affordable housing projects. So, with the state funds, that category, we're including the tax credits. That's a big part of the financing for most of the affordable housing projects that we're talking about, the traditional affordable housing developers. And so the penny funds, the other funds that we provide are going to fill the gaps and make those projects move forward. The private funds on the right side, that really is primarily, a lot of those dollars, 93 million of those dollars are the area project, the mixed income project that Barry pointed out. So a lot of those dollars coming from private banks, the private sector. Federal funding, that's through the HUD program, 221D4 loan program through HUD for the Fairfield project. So there's an array of resources, but as you can see, it's sort of 50-50 on these projects of federal government, local government subsidized resources and private sector funding. So I just wanted to kind of show sort of a big picture of the dollars involved in these projects. With those projects, this slide includes those 10 in addition to 5 pending projects that we're anticipating bringing to the board within the next 3 to 4 months. And so when we look at these pending projects in the pipeline, giving you a sense of the total of how many units would be produced through the program in the past 2 years and in the upcoming. Those 5 pending projects aren't inclusive of all applications that we're working on. There's 7 or 8 additional applications. I just want to be conservative in the ones that we think are pretty close to ready to go, but there are others behind that we're continuing to reach out to developers, looking for opportunities to partner and provide additional funding for more housing units, and certainly a portion of those as set-aside affordable units. We've talked a lot about the penny in this presentation, and probably the last 2 years, most presentations we've been updating you on, we're really focused on the penny. But we also have other resources. The Housing Finance Authority issues multifamily bonds. It's an important resource to not only build new housing, but also to preserve existing housing. You as the board approve those allocations. You'll see those projects from time to time, so that's an important component that's part of the county's operations, but through the HFA. And then the traditional use of funds, the grant funds from the federal and state government that the housing program has always utilized for a couple decades. And this is a snapshot of what those resources are. Many of these are reoccurring. The CDBG program, Not too many of those dollars go to housing because of its limitations, but that is a reoccurring grant. Just like the home program, that's a reoccurring allocation, usually in the $2 to $3 million range each year. And the SHIP program, which we get an allocation each year, sometimes it's a couple $100,000. Here lately, it's been much better in the $5 million range. So we have, some significant resources there now. A one-time allocation of home ARP funds, just over $2 million. So when we add these all up, we do have a significant pot of additional resources, as well as the penny funds, to continue the program and to move forward. We talked about the trends and conditions earlier, and this slide is sort of a response. What are we doing? What are other local jurisdictions doing? And I think, when we look to the state of Florida, the Florida Housing Organization, they're kind of emulating what everybody else in the region and local governments are doing, and that's kind of focusing on the projects that they made a commitment to in the past, trying to address these cost increases to see them move forward. There's been a lot of time, money, and energy spent to get the projects to the point that they are. And so Florida Housing has designed a construction housing inflation response program, which they've implemented over the last 2 years, where they've taken a significant portion of their tax credit allocation, set that aside separately, as well as home ARP funds and National Housing Trust Fund dollars for developers that have received tax credits and other allocations from Florida Housing to apply for additional funds to cover those cost increases. Locally, regionally, a lot of local governments are doing similar things by adding dollars to projects that they've provided prior support. Some are using home ARP dollars, others are just using their typical entitlement funds. Basically, that's our planned approach, is to continue working with the developers that we've partnered with that are incurring these costs, find ways to narrow that gap, bring those back to you, and do our best to make sure that the costs are as minimal as they can be, that the pain of the increased cost is being shared by others, be it the developer, the local government, and that they've sort of exhausted their abilities to find any other resources before we bring it back. And when we do bring it back, it's going to be our recommendation of what that additional amount is needed to fill the gap to see the rest of these projects move forward. We also want to take a look at, especially with new projects, making sure that we're using our SHIP funds, our home funds, our federal funds, kind of start prioritizing those a little bit more. They come with more strings attached, so it kind of makes the penny funds more appealable to the developers, but we got to make sure that we're spending our other resources adequately and time, so we're going to really try to focus on getting those dollars out. A lot of times they have greater affordability restrictions, expenditure deadlines, some other strings attached, but they're an important resource that we want to make sure that we're maximizing. So with that, that's kind of a brief summary of the 2 years of the challenges of the Affordable Housing Development Program and the progress we've made, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bruce. Further questions? Commissioner Flowers.
Not a question, but a comment. Senate President Pasadomo is really focusing on affordable housing, so it'll be interesting to see after their committee meetings what kind of comes out of that, what she's presenting. I know Senator Roussan and I met with the superintendent of Pinellas County Schools to talk about possibly joining together and looking at what we can do when it comes to building affordable, not just for teachers, which is what we were focused on before I left the school board, but just in general, and not just on the first responders, because that's a whole nother, piece or pot, but even our employees right here in the county, that are working, that are finding it difficult. So we'll see.
Anything further? Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Evan's on his way back up. And we're going to talk about our manufactured home community strategy.
Hello again, Evan Johnson, Planning Division Manager, Housing Community Development, and as promised, I am going to go through, as soon as the presentation's up, our manufactured housing strategy, provide a little background and context, and some of the programmatic ideas that we've been discussing internally. And with that, thank you very much. There we go. So as far as an agenda, what I'll be, oh, my microphone has fallen. There we go. That's all you need, the microphone fall. I want to talk a little bit about some of the history, some of the current information about manufactured housing in Pinellas County. This is focused primarily on unincorporated at this time, so a lot of the numbers are going to be kind of broken down by countywide, but mostly unincorporated. So talk a little bit about what we've done to date, as well as some of the program recommendations that we've been discussing internally, as well as with outside parties as we move forward with this. So for those who don't know, for new commissioners and for those who just don't spend all this time thinking about manufactured housing, the differences generally are a mobile home is technically built before 1976. That's when the initial HUD standards became law, so that they had to be built to a standard. A manufactured home is meeting the HUD code, and a modular home, oftentimes modular homes can be built by the same folks who build manufactured homes, but they're not on a chassis, they're on a foundation, they have to meet Florida Building Code. So we have two different codes we're dealing with. We have the HUD standards for manufactured housing that sit on a chassis, and then we have our Florida Building Code, which does apply to modular homes, but not to the manufactured home. We've got about 251 manufactured home communities in the county. 122 of those are in unincorporated. That's about 16,500 units. It is a wide variety. We get very small, a few units here and there together. We also have very large, as you can imagine, particularly retirement villages and things like that. This map is always very instructive to me. This is the unincorporated parks only, and you can see the south portion of the county, particularly east and west Lowman. That's where you get the largest concentration of our manufactured home parks. So it's not just South County, it's mostly in Lowman as well. We have done a number of, so we initially started in 2021 with our initial efforts then, we put out a survey to manufactured home communities within the unincorporated county. We have spoken to a lot of stakeholders because in manufactured housing space, there is state preemption. There's statutory rules, so we had to talk to Department of Health, Florida Highway Safety, and others who regulate. We have also talked to their trade groups, the Florida Manufactured Housing Association, as we've developed not only what are some of the issues they see from a statewide and local, but also solutions when you particularly start talking to the trade groups and the local governments here that have been dealing with the same challenges. We've gone out and made presentations around the county, this was from our survey that we did, which targeted both owners and residents. At the time, we received 177 surveys back. I don't have the number that we actually sent, but it was a very wide. We went out and hand-delivered a lot of them. But generally speaking, those are the major issues that they identified in that discussion. So vulnerability to disaster, the cost of rent particularly, and this became even more so with lot rents as they've continued to go up for people who are renting lots. Challenges with management. Now, some of that is just not knowing what the rules are, and the managers might not know what the rules are and what the state law requires. But making sure that issues in the park are being addressed, making sure that if you are renting a home, that it is being cared for, not unlike what you would deal with in a regular apartment community. And then the more general conditions of the home or of the park itself. And those, we deal with it from a code enforcement standpoint, but also Department of Health, Sheriff's Department, various others are out there dealing with issues in those parks.
Quick question.
Sir.
On the number of manufactured communities that we have, how many of those would you say are individually lot-owned versus like somebody that owns the entire project? And obviously more vulnerable to changing the housing on that property.
Yes, I had a number that I could actually quote for you. Let's see if I can find it in less than 30 seconds. If not, I'll get it back to you. So this data stated that we've got 79 of those parks are single owner. With the 43 would have resident ownership of some type, condo, co-op, etc. The one thing I would need to check on the 79 is just that what we've seen over the last couple of years is large corporations buying and managing essentially co-ops. So that is something I'd want to go in and check that number against, because that is something we've seen a lot of in the last couple of years. But generally speaking, I would say that number is fairly accurate. There is a significant number of them that are individually owned, with that other number being the co-op.
So many individuals used to own these parks. And it was a little more personal, personable. And the relationships were based on that. And now, as you said, they're selling them off to corporations. It's a little different model.
Yeah.
So I think it puts a little bit more pressure on renters, and is also to the investors, like, what else can we do with this property?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know it takes time to convert them, but certainly that's on the table. So
It is interesting that what we are seeing most recently are companies who they're in the business of operating parks. So they are national companies versus, say, maybe in the pre-recession days of 2004 and 5, we saw a lot of redevelopment where they came in and removed the units, and then we're trying to do that for redevelopment purposes. You know, the latest stuff I've seen is going to be those people who are buying out co-ops or buying out individuals and plan on running it. That's their business model.
thank you.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's sort of a similar thing you're seeing in the housing market, where so many houses are being bought up by, national corporations and turning them into VRBOs, and it's taking so much inventory out of the housing market.
Right.
Do we have any idea of the sense of the age of these communities? Because as you drive around certain areas of the county, particularly like in Lellman and some other parts, where some of those mobile homes look like they're from the 50s or the 60s.
Yes.
And like they wouldn't withstand a strong rainstorm, let alone, I don't know how half of them are still standing, quite honestly.
So this is a very interesting part of the manufactured housing, something I did not know until I started getting into this. So we have data on any home that is owned as real property that the property appraiser would maintain. We can tell you what those park sizes are. We can tell you the age of those units. But a significant number of them are regulated through the highway safety, through DMV or highway safety, because they actually have licensed state tags on them. So there is I've got conversations coming up with the PAO to better understand the ins and outs, but there's actually multiple data sources. So we do know that for all of those that are real property, and I could give you that breakdown and bring it back or email you guys afterwards and let you know what we have from that data. So that would be anything co-op owned or anything individually owned. But yeah, there is a significant portion of them that we don't have that information on, because it's actually in state databases that we don't have the same access to.
Okay, thanks.
But to your point, there are a significant number that are older, even within the ones where they're individually owned. And the big dates are 76 was the HUD code, 94 was an update to the HUD code post Andrew and all of that. So those are major updates to the building code for manufactured housing. So anything before 94 or even more so 76, you're really dealing with something that's not built to a modern standard.
Right.
So.
And probably is sitting on wheels.
But they keep them up, man. They do keep up. They've made it through a lot of rainstorms. So one of the things we've done is we've been working closely. Housing Community Development has taken kind of the lead from as we talk about the strategy. So we've got folks from all of the major departments that deal with or work in manufactured home parks. So Utilities has a lot of programs and projects, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. We've got, County Administration, of course, but Code, Development Review, Public Works, Human Services. Human Services deals a lot with responses to parks closing and evictions and those types of things. So we've also wanted to be engaged with them. So we've really got a good core group that's working forward as we kind of refine these policy ideas and programs moving forward. So these are the major focus areas that have been identified. Now, this is both from the survey that we did, as well as, of course, through all of our stakeholder discussions, internal, external, over the last year. First, I wanted to mention we'll talk a little bit about the Restore Act program, which you all have, for those of you on the board last year, you all have put some funding towards utility upgrades, rent values, disaster vulnerability, all the things we talked about, substandard homes, to your point, sir. And then management and contractor practices. So what is that relationship, making sure folks are educated on what the actual rules are when dealing with tenants, et cetera, making sure that that's something that they understand and they have resources. So just real quickly, I won't read all this slide, it's huge, but there is a really large project related to addressing issues of I&I, what is that, inflow and infiltration, which is about freshwater, stormwater getting into our wastewater system. So we have 14 parks as part of this program where we're actually, we have 12 active, I believe, 2 we're still working out, again, ownership changes, where this will be a program where we actually are upgrading wastewater treatment systems within parks. And the purpose of that, again, is we've identified, we've monitored, we know that these are major contributors to I&I in our system. And so this becomes kind of a long-term cost savings program in certain parks. And you can see where they're surrounded, this is an area of a lot of concern around Lake Seminole in the southwest part of the county where we have issues with stormwater and wastewater.
And commissioners, when you meet with Megan, they'll go over kind of that program outline where we have sanitary sewer overflows because in the cases of these older, or, some of these mobile home parks, they're not properly maintaining the tightness of their system. If they're not investing in that, then they're sending us straight rainwater, which causes us capacity issues. So we're having to make improvements in the system, tighten it up at the source versus, redoing lines and things like that. That's tied in with our lateral program where people have tied in illegally, their roof drains and things like that. And so those two programs together is targeted by area, and it's focused around trying to eliminate some of our sanitary sewer overflows in these areas.
One of the things I already mentioned, the Affordable Housing Development Code update, which you will be seeing, we'll be back in March to present on, and we'll be back hopefully in April or so for the adoption. We are also talking in the next year about some tweaks or updates to the Land Development Code focused on manufactured housing. Now, the realm in which our Land Development Code works is somewhat limited because of the state law, so we're kind of working within that framework. But there's two main things that have come up a lot from a land development code standpoint. One is neighborhood compatibility. We don't have a lot of new parks, but if we have new parks, what does that look like? As well as what we're seeing is a lot of these major corporations are buying parks, they're capitalizing, they're making some improvements. But what are our standards as far as improving compatibility with the communities if these new investments are happening? So we want to look at those and make sure that they're putting the best face forward on these parks and that the other parts of the community, we hear a lot about this in Lellman, like just make them look and feel and integrate better, more clearly into the neighborhood. The other part is we really want to have a conversation about if parks are going to be redeveloped, are there standards not getting in the way of the notice standards and all of that from the state requirements, but are there standards that we can be looking at as far as how do we maintain affordability once that project's being redeveloped? Or is it something where there's going to be, could be density bonuses to help provide affordability once that park is redeveloped? We want to be having those conversations and trying to find regulatory incentives, not necessarily to make anyone make that decision because it's a huge effort, but to say that if they're going to happen, that we've got these things in place to potentially get us some of that affordability and keep it long-term. Because, it's not happening at the rate it was, but there is at least one park I know of right now in the city of Clearwater that's preparing to close in the next 6 to 8 months. And that discussion, if we had some standards in place, could we get better outcomes in the long term by providing some incentive, some regulatory incentive? So that's something we want to be talking about as well. And of course, we'll, when we're ready to brief you all on the details, we'll bring that back to you for a discussion. One of the ideas that has come out of some discussion specific to a recent park, this park that's being discussed now in Clearwater, but also more generally, is the idea of providing a little bit more coordinated assistance when residents are facing eviction. What our human services folks who often get involved and coordinate with local nonprofits as well as cities if it's in a municipality, one of the things they've told us is that we can, if we're given enough time, which is designed by statute, is to try to give enough time. If we're given enough time, we usually can get people relocated. The issue becomes that last small population of folks who really don't have the resources to move their stuff. They don't have the resources to make that last transition. This could be we could talk about a small grant, maybe making that available for that kind of flexibility. So that's something that we think could have an impact to these situations, which are far and few between. But at the end of the day, I know we've had a couple in the last few years that maybe it could have made an impact at the end by creating some opportunities for that. There is a state tie-down program. It's called the Manufactured Home Tie-Down Enhancement Program, and that's the Florida statute reference. This is a program that is run out of Tallahassee and is essentially any mobile home that is 1994 or later is eligible to receive tie-downs, and this is to help with wind mitigation. Now, new mobile homes being moved in will be tied down to that standard, but this is to kind of cover those folks who have homes from 94 and they haven't had, they're not required to have put those tie-downs on. We have talked to the state. There is a backlog of units. They have received funding from the state legislature to try to address that backlog. And so there may be opportunities that we could explore to kind of augment that and maybe try to address very specific areas and locations within the county where there may be an interest in getting tie-downs done, but where maybe the state doesn't have the funding available yet to do so. So that's a conversation we've been having with them just to understand how the mechanics of that might work, but it could be an opportunity for us to help with wind mitigation of some of our mobile home parks. Now, addressing substandard conditions, we have two areas that we've been looking at. One is emergency grants. So these are really thinking about health and safety repairs. The city of Largo has one of these programs that they have used. They've used code enforcement fines to help fund. But you've got folks who can't afford to repair a floor. You've got folks who can't afford to, they've got major leaking in their unit, and they could be old fixed income, those types of situations. Could we be able to provide some of that small emergency grant to make those just keep the home from becoming worse, where it just becomes somebody who has to leave? And the other is rehab assistance. And this it could be a program that's more general rehabilitation for folks who have homes. They own them. These are for only folks who own their homes, their manufactured home. But could be making more improvements. This could be funded through some of our state programs. It's something that is done around the state, where grants could be given for more upgrades or improvements to the homes versus, say, my floor has got a giant hole in it or something like that. So more of a typical rehab program. The Pride in Your Park is really about an education program. So the city of Largo, I stole this from them, that this is the name of their program, Pride in Their Park. And really what it was, several years ago, they started doing outreach to their owners of their parks and their managers to make sure that folks understood what the rules are, what the standards are, and try to improve communications. And so we're really looking to try to do something like that with our park managers as well. And this would go hand in hand with what would be some education program. We've been talking a lot with the Manufactured Home Association about contractor education. You have to be a licensed contractor to do work on manufactured housing, but you don't necessarily have to have the expertise or the specific knowledge of some of the building techniques and so forth. So we've been working with them to create like a voluntary continuing education program. Also see that as part of that discussion with managers and making sure they understand what their responsibilities are as well. So in the coming year, we'll be working on that contractor education program for sure. That is something we are going to work with the Manufactured Home Association on developing. And we're also going to be looking at doing a survey. Again, we think every couple of years it would be a good idea to survey our residents, not unlike what we do with county more generally. And then we want to look and have discussions about what program recommendations actually rise to the top and bring any of those back for consideration. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions?
And I remembered Commissioner Flowers' tiny house question right now, which I can't answer. So we don't specifically, and we will be looking at tiny homes more generally within the code. We do not, you can put a tiny home in a manufactured home park. It is something that is treated. Most tiny homes are on a chassis, many of them. If they're not, they're going to be something that's built to code. So as long as you can fit on a lot, you can do that as far as a tiny home, putting it there. So I don't know if that was your whole question, if you had additional questions about that.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, absolutely.
I was just trying to see if it was going to be a part of the presentation and a part of the overall discussion as an alternative for housing. I've been working with a young lady who is a retired veteran, and she's built as a matter of fact, 3 blocks away from my house, which we had the groundbreaking for, or the ribbon cutting, if you will. He's a Marine, a veteran, and she's doing several throughout, various places where she's purchasing. So there are 2 types of tiny homes, some that are permanent foundations, which have to be built to code, and others that you can kind of move around, but I'm speaking specifically about the ones that are stationary in place, because they are affordable. They look really good. I mean, there's so many variations. Home Depot, Amazon, you can get one now off of Amazon, but you just have to have all of the electrical, plumbing, and all of that put in. But even when you add in those costs, it's still very reasonable when you look at the cost of construction for a traditional home, if you will, from the ground up. And so those are being used as alternatives, not just here locally, but in several other communities where they're making tiny home communities, so that they fit within the landscape of what's around them and doesn't look odd and out of place. So I just wanted to make sure that we're continuing to incorporate that as an alternative for housing options. And PERC, since it's some of its clients who choose to want to take on construction trades, they've partnered with Pinellas Technical College. They go through that training, and they're actually building the tiny homes. So it's putting back into the community for those who are returning citizens, but also providing housing that's workforce and or affordable. So.
And I would just say there is nothing in our code that prohibits tiny homes. We actually are fairly silent on tiny homes and what that means in our code currently. We are talking about maybe putting in some parameters, just more specifically definitions, et cetera. But there's nothing, to your point, if it's on a foundation or it's being set on, typical piers with a crawl space or whatever, ultimately it will have to meet Florida Building Code. And so at that point, it is whether it's site built or built somewhere else and brought in, it will be something that we would go through the normal process. There's nothing prohibiting it. The only thing that potentially could be in conflict is if it's such a small home that there's a minimal housing standard of square footage or some other basic standard that is not, that they can't meet. And that might be something where we could look at that and just, see how other communities have addressed that.
Okay, thank you.
What about approval process for ADUs, people who want to add that unit on in unincorporated? I think St. Pete went through a long process to get to where they are. Where are we now in unincorporated if you want to add an auxiliary dwelling unit onto your property? How easy, hard, complicated? Almost
every residential and commercial, and I'm looking, where did Glenn go? Maybe he ran away from me. He knew I was going to ask him. We are already permitted by right. You have to meet the setback standards that are in your current zoning, so you'd still have to meet those standards, but they are permitted by right in the unincorporated county up to 750 square feet. I think the new rules that St. Pete's been working on allow for slightly bigger. We do not require parking, separate parking for ADUs, and St. Pete does, so there is some differences, but it is currently something allowed by right here in the unincorporated county.
I think that's something that we could talk about more, because I think I still get questions about it, and then I start to question myself of what I thought was where we were. The second question I had was, you're talking about the mobile home, and you're talking about some of the older ones that have the auto tag on it. And I vaguely remember a conversation that we had several years ago where that difference of whether it was an old one with an auto tag on it versus one that is just listed as real property, what our ability to regulate health and safety conditions were.
I can't speak specifically to the difference between those two. Generally speaking, we still are, code enforcement does enforce minimal housing. So from a health safety, if they identify an issue with a manufactured home, they can enforce that as a minimal housing violation. And there are a lot of those, particularly in those older parks. I can't really speak to the difference of that, but I can look into that.
That was a question. That was a lot of us who, our first introduction was Wood Acres into some of those old Lellman. It doesn't exist anymore, but you drive by and there's just a hole in the side of the wall. And that was my first experience. I saw the hole in the side of the wall, and I saw toddler feet running by it. And, that's really what got me engaged in that issue. And so, but I kept hearing, well, it's under different regulations as far as what we're able to do as far as health and safety and how that basic standard that you're talking about.
Yes, and you know, one of the discussions on again that we've continued to have is ultimately, if you start citing and causing challenges in these parks, or you know, you run into the issue of where do folks go, and so it's also that push and pull of, as we think about this, how do we make sure that we've got alternatives available, places to go that are higher quality or whatever. Sometimes the people own the mobile home that has the issue that you just brought up. Sometimes it's owned by a landlord or a park owner, something like that.
Yeah, no, and I know there's variety. The other one I wanted to ask, and I'm just kind of potpourri here for you. We had a site in Largo where it was not a house park. It was a recreational vehicle, but it was basically, they were they weren't just there for the weekend. They were long-term. And we ended up transitioning most of those folks to other mobile homes or apartments, and now there's a nice apartment complex there. How many of those do you think how big of an issue is that still happening in our county?
As far as like long-term RV parks versus manufactured housing, I certainly could look into that. I do not know the answer to that. I know we have some, there's supposed to be a separate park in separate areas and within the county. So I can look into how many of those parks we have and to get an idea, because that is not included within what is a mobile home park.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of more like thinking about the piece of the puzzle that it was, not, whether it's 12 or 100, but just kind of the piece of the puzzle. So further questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate all the good information.
Next up on the agenda, Commissioners, Aubrey's on her way up, and so I want you to start thinking about strategic planning. So we're just going to give you a taste and touch about getting ready for our strategic planning, which is currently scheduled for the end of January. So she's just going to kind of walk through a brief overview of our process and just get you thinking about getting ready for our upcoming strategic planning session. So go ahead, Aubrey.
Good morning, Commissioners. Aubrey Phillips, Office of Management and Budget. So yeah, as Barry mentioned, I was thinking on the way in, I was like, oh, it's like a trailer for a movie, but it's much less exciting than a trailer for a movie. I apologize. So first, a recap. This year, we've really been focused, as we talked with you all about in last January, on strengthening strategy deployment. And I won't read through all of the items on this slide, but we've really been having renewed focus and energy around the results that are most important for our organization and our community. So focusing on aligning the strategic plan, doing some technology planning, some business process improvement, and really focusing on our values and culture as well. As you can see on the right here, we really want our strategic plan to be informed by the plans and policies, some of which you've heard about this morning, data about what's going on in the community, and importantly, public input, because the perspectives of our citizens are first and foremost in our mind. And that strategic plan drives what you see in the budget in terms of the resources we need to deliver services and programs. The budget moderates our strategic plan, and those resources enable us to drive continuous improvement towards those key intended outcomes, those results that we deliver for our citizens. So this is, and I don't expect everyone, I'm presenting a lot of information, so certainly if you have follow-up questions and want to do a deeper dive before we meet in January, we're happy to do that with you. I wanted to just provide an overview. This is our framework for our strategic plan. So as you can see in 2022, as I mentioned, we've been focusing on really getting clear on what are the key intended outcomes, what are the results that you as commissioners are expecting us as staff to be delivering on. And that's laying the foundation for, in 2023, engaging you all, the community, employees, in updating our countywide strategic plan and getting clear around what are those measures of success, those specific measurable results that we're going to use to measure our success and adjust and adapt over time. And those tie back into and are delivered through the programs and projects that you'll hear departments speak about, both at your commission meetings throughout the year, but also as part of the budget process. Our objectives for this update of the current strategic plan, it was adopted in 2015, so it's about 7 years old. We'll be, as we refresh it, reviewing and validating with you all the mission, vision, values, and goals of the strategic plan. establishing 3 to 5 SMART objectives for each goal, so we're clear around what success looks like to you all, and we can align the county department efforts to that. Engage you as commissioners in strengthening policy governance and making sure we're focused on what's most important. Engaging employees and the community in identifying and understanding those priorities, so you all have informed, good information in making policy decisions. And then improving the clarity of strategic direction for county staff. As we work to do more with less, we want to make sure that we're focused on those most important items. So here's a high-level timeline of the approach to updating the countywide strategic plan. As the county administrator mentioned, we'll be meeting in January with you at your annual BCC strategic planning workshop session. That's where we'll really kick the conversation off in earnest with you all. That'll lead us into February, where we'll begin data collection for the National Community Survey. This is a nationally benchmarked survey, so we'll not only understand what our citizens' perspectives are, but how we compare to other communities and our peers around the country. We'll conduct focus groups to refine our messaging and make sure that we are meeting people where they're at and reaching folks in a way that's meaningful and relevant for them. Prior to beginning open participation survey and data collection for the National Community Survey. In April, we'll begin additional community engagement. That'll be polls, live events, and topical roundtables. We'll talk more about that on the next slide. We'll complete community engagement in June, be developing the plan through July, and coming back to you in September to present that strategic plan as part of the budget process. And I mentioned we'd share a little bit more with you about what we're looking at in terms of community input and engagement. And really there's 2 phases here. The survey and focus groups to help us get a pulse on things and understand and refine our messaging. And then April through June, where we'll do follow-ups to do deeper dives on specific topics. Inevitably, when we do a community survey, you usually uncover additional questions and topics that we need to better understand. And when we think about community engagement, we're really looking at these key questions you see listed, making sure we understand what do citizens and businesses in Pinellas County rely on county government to do for them and do well, what issues are most important in their future, what priorities should be guiding us, and understanding whether the engagement was valuable to citizens so we can refine our approach over time. There's also 2 different ways that we're getting community input. One is through active community engagement, which you're probably all more familiar with, meetings, surveys, polls, things like that. We're also this year using sentiment research, so that's passive monitoring of what the conversation is in the community about key topics. So you all will have all of that data on where the community's perspective is at to inform your decisions on policy priorities in the countywide strategic plan. Any questions for me before I wrap up?
Questions? Pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to that first meeting in January, right?
Yep, it'll be here towards the end of January. And again, you'll begin, and the work that they're doing is really to put not only data and analysis of the programming of the individual departments, but you saw the community outreach piece. And that's new in terms of the way in which we're able to collect and analyze data and information. It's going to be real important because, if you do just a regular survey, you've got countywide issues and you've got issues for only unincorporated, where you're the municipality and not St. Petersburg or Safety Harbor or whoever. So trying to gather that information, to where it's useful information for you is pretty unique. And that's some of the information that they're working on. Some of the tools are much more refined today than what we even had a few years ago. So it'll be interesting.
Thank you, Aubrey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, under the agenda brief. So just starting right at the top. So we've got some presentations and awards from Waterwise Awards and Pinellas County Extension. Under the consent agenda, we have items from the clerk of the circuit court and comptroller. Next are items received for filing. The first item under, let's see. Yeah, the first item under regular agenda items are item number 11. This is an award of bid to Guyan Group. This is for carpet maintenance and cleaning In this particular bid, you're seeing a contract reflect a 21% annual increase. But again, these are bid out services. This is a 36-month term for 162 different county locations.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons for the increase in, for the 21% increase in this was due to increase in wages and salaries. Did they happen to say what their previous wage was versus their current wage increase, which is their justification for the increase?
These are bid out contracts, so I'm not sure. I don't know if we have that type of information or not. Kevin, do you know?
I was just curious because that's what they actually listed, and that's what's listed here, attributable to increased wages.
Right.
In this market. So they should, in my opinion, be able to justify. If that's a substantial increase at 21%.
Yes.
So,
Hi, Kevin Knutson, Assistant County Administrator. I don't have that information with me, but I know during the bid process we did get it, so I can get that back to you.
yeah, and if anyone else wants it, that's a nice jump, 21%. I don't think we even do that. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, the previous contract was for 60 months. This one's only for 36. Any particular reason for that?
Kevin, is that because of this, we wanted to do it for shorter period of time to see what happens in the market?
Absolutely, that's the case. When we see these kind of increases coming up, we don't want to lock that in for a longer period of time.
Okay, thank you.
And commissioners, for our new commissioners, you'll see that on some of these price increases, especially around public works and utilities, we've seen huge price increases. So we've been locking in shorter periods of time to be able to see what the market does.
And when you're looking at that salary, 20%, if it's a $100,000 salary, 20% is a lot. If it's a $12 an hour salary, the 20% may not be as significant.
And that is truly the case, and we should also understand that it's not the same company doing it, so we're not comparing one company's salaries to another's. We're looking at their total bid on it. So
Right.
we can get that information, but it's not really apples to apples the way you would hope it would be.
Fair enough.
Moving on to the next contract, item number 13, this is award of contract to Lifeline for the purchase of a 45-foot mobile medical unit. This replaces the existing unit. This is used for our health care for the homeless program, amount of $601,000.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what do we do with the old unit?
Kevin, you want to answer that, or Lourdes, either one. Any of our surplus stuff, we surplus through competitive auction process. I would imagine this would be the same, but I don't know since it's a medical unit.
Is it a trade-in?
Yeah, for all of our computers and cars and everything like that, we have a whole process that we bid that stuff out through. We do offer it up for nonprofits to first look and take note of those, but it's through a competitive auction process. Right. I don't know about this unit because it's a mobile medical unit if it's the same process.
Lourdes Benedict, Assistant County Administrator. I can tell you it's in really bad shape. We got it in 2011 and have had to make many repairs. One of the things we are looking at is to see if we could use it for animal services, even for storage. So more to follow.
Got it. What's the expected lifespan of the new unit?
Well, the last one we had since 2011, so it's a pretty fairly long time. This one's a little more upgraded. We're going to do telehealth in it, dental, and all of the medical services.
Right. Okay. And is this just from general funds, or does the fund source come from this?
Yes, general funds.
Okay, great. Thank you.
From our fleet that we've been saving up for a long time.
Okay.
Just real quickly, on the cost increase, I had calculated it 30%, not 36, but whatever. That's the price today, the new one, versus the one bought
Yes, in 2011.
12 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
That's the increase, yep.
So that really, it doesn't really tell the story about.
It's really, yeah.
rising
What I've asked, and the reason they put that in is because I've asked them to provide cost increases on contracts over previous contracts.
Yeah.
This one isn't
It's a
kind of
little
an apples
different,
to
yeah,
apples.
okay.
So they included that cost to be responsive to my request.
That's right.
And the main reason is because we've seen so many cost increases And so I wanted to be
this is a little
real
different
transparent.
variety.
This is a little different.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Thank
how
you.
that came up.
Thank you.
Item 14 is award of bid to Vector Disease International for emergency aerial mosquito application services. So we have a contract that we use, and when we can't provide the services with our own staff, which we do have a helicopter and provide that, we do. We just replaced it after 1972, I think it was, or something to that effect. Is that right, Kelly? And she begged and begged for several years, and we finally did it. But anyway, this is a backup contract where when we have very targeted stuff that we can't get to ourselves, then we use this. So this is on an as-needed basis.
Yeah, so the new helicopter we bought, when the county administrator won't fly up in the old one, they replace it with a new one. Kidding. So this new helicopter that we have does all the work we need. This is additional if we need it, but we don't necessarily going to use $552,000.
That's correct. It's only if we use it. It's a as-needed service.
Yeah, because it was really an expensive purchase for that new helicopter.
It was a very expensive purchase.
Yeah. So I hope we use it most of the time.
Oh,
so.
And we looked, and just for new commission, we looked at every alternative. We looked at contracting out. We looked at trying to partner with other counties, all types of different things. And we did all those before we agreed to replace the helicopter. So, but when it's needed, it's needed. And so, well, you're good. Anything else? Item 15, ranking of firms with Gulfstream Outsourcing and Specialized Billing, ambulance transport liability claims. These are highly specialized claims. We outsourced this piece. We did a pilot program and showed that even with the contingency that we provide them, very, very cost effective and brings in a lot of extra money. Then this is through our ambulance billing services. So this would be to expand that contract out for a 5-year basis. Anticipate $8.2 million that would come in based upon the pilot program through outsourcing these particular pieces of that operation. A lot of these deal with, Medicaid. I think it's Medicaid or Medicare payments. Item 16 is award of bid to Strutt Mechanical for HVA preventative maintenance services. In this particular contract, not only are it's just time to bid the maintenance services, we're adding in replacements to this contract. So there's kind of two. It's one at the end of the time to bid it, but two, we're adding in that they'll be doing actual maintenance replacement as part of this contract for all the different county buildings.
Commissioner Eggers.
So yeah, when you take that replacement cost, which is not part of our current contract, out, correct, it shows repair and maintenance and repairs at $1,066,000, which is really down. Is that from where we are now? It just seems like so are we getting a lot of those costs absorbed in the fact that they're doing also replacement? Is that what's making the?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a pretty complicated piece because you got so many different buildings and stuff. I can ask them to provide you a little bit more information, but since we did a competitive selection, I'm not sure I can answer that. To get an apples to apples comparison, that's pretty hard.
Okay. And just going back to the previous one, could we have somebody there to go over that on Tuesday? I had a big question mark because I didn't understand it, and I'm not sure.
Which item?
Number 615, the billing one that you just.
Oh, sure.
I'm not sure that I fully understood your
Lourdes
stuff.
is here. If you want to try to answer, or you want to wait till Jim is there on Tuesday?
Doesn't matter either way. I just want to make sure that before I'm going to pull that. So.
Okay. We'll have Jim there on Tuesday then, okay, and you can pull it from the consent.
I just want to make sure I understand what the ask is here and what the effort is here, and so no big deal. Just
item number 15, Lourdes.
Number
this 15. Is on the contract for billing. This is on
I bounced on you,
This
Lourdes,
is what? This is Medicaid billing? Yeah. I know she knows this stuff. So.
Yeah, and I apologize. I thought you had moved on to another one. That's why I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, I bounced back. Sorry about that.
Okay, so your question was whether it was Medicaid or Medicaid?
No, what I want to know is if somebody could just explain what we're asking for here, what the current contract is, what we're doing, what we're adding.
Sure. So like Barry said, about 18 months ago, we did a pilot with a company to do the older claims, anything about 60 days out. They're just more difficult, and it was taking up a lot of time with staff doing that. So we hired this company, and for about a 14% cost, we're getting all of this return with the older claims.
Okay. All right, so this is, so we did the pilot, so now we're going
Yes.
forward with the
For
contract.
5-year contract.
Thank
It
you.
was very successful. And really, we were pretty conservative. We gained back even more than we thought we could.
Excellent, excellent. And then, yeah, just to, I guess the other one's not in your, the other one was not in her bailiwick. But thank you for that explanation.
Commissioner Scott.
Mr. Chairman. So basically, this is subrogation, right? We're going on and recovering money?
Yes,
Okay. So there's, if they don't collect the money,
exactly.
there's no
Exactly.
downside to us.
It's really a
All
no-brainer.
upside.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
It was a no-brainer, but I didn't understand it.
Sorry.
So
I
needed-
wasn't-
so
I wasn't going to make that point,
I
Commissioner.
know, but I was. That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at? Okay, item 17, this award of bid to Test Gauge and Ferguson Enterprises. So another one of these complicated ones where we're breaking it out between different groups of types of parts. And so in this particular case, the groups 1 and 2, this would be for the larger size of backflow preventers, is being awarded to 1. And then Ferguson Enterprise gets the smaller group 4, which is the smaller backflow assembly devices. Questions? Moving on to item 19, this is the annual update for the countywide map amendment. Item 20, to your question, Commissioner, this is declaring surplus and authorizing the sale of donated miscellaneous county equipment. And you can see who we send that out to in advance. Item 21 is an award of contract. This is a really exciting project. This is an award of a contract to Marine Max for the property owned at the airport. They're going to be leasing this out. They're going to be building, and we're going to have a presentation on Tuesday on this project that'll show you what they're going to be building. Very, very exciting project on to the area over by the old Turtle Club. And again, a big win for the county.
And it's just dirt rent is what we're getting, land.
Correct.
Rental income. I said, boy, that's a deal and a half, but it's not for the building. That's on top of that.
Yeah, if they could build for that, I'd have them building a few other things for us.
Right.
But yes, that's exactly right. And so, you know, I mean, because the airport, the way it's done is that we have to charge market rate for that. So with your approval, then that'll enable us to submit that up and get it. I think it's FAA or either state. Is it FAA approval? So it has to go to the state for approval and feds for approval. But this initiates that process. But again, we're going to have a whole presentation. We're going to have a representative of Marine Max there on Tuesday on this project.
Hasn't been the same since Las Fontana's closed. Seeing if anyone in the room remembered it. Thank you, Brian.
Item number 22 is a Florida Dream Center pantry. This is a MSTU project. We, for new commissioners, we do have MSTUs. These are a separate set of funds that the commissioners set aside. People can apply for small grants up to $20,000. This one is for a new indoor walk-in cooler at $17,800. Item 23's coming up purposes is ownership between Pinellas County and the ADA. This is, we just have to approve this as part of the EDA grant for the Tampa Bay Innovation Center Incubator Project. There's no budgetary impact. Item 24 is a resolution approving the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee report and to the state, when we submit it up to the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Affordable Housing Incentive Program. Item 25 is a contract with the state of Florida. This is for the operation of the Florida Department of Health. So in that, you've got the county share is $6.3 million for core services and $1.6 million for the school nurse program. mean, this was approved as part of our budget.
Barry, do we have his total budget here for this operation, just so we know what our piece of it is, or?
Lourdes,
Okay, thank you.
what's that, Chris? It's not in that? Okay, you'll submit it to the commissioners? Okay. Item 26 is funding recommendation for the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Trust Funds to nonprofits. So we get $35,000. This comes from court fees, and then there's a competitive process to give grants out. And this is the award of those grants.
So there's a group that puts this list together. I mean, I see where painting buildings was authorized 70% of a request, and then air conditioning replacement, there was 0. It just seems to me that they're both equally important, and why was somebody getting 70% of a request and somebody getting 0?
Well, from what you can see, we do have a SOB board, which is the Substance Abuse Advisory Board of different folks that come in and review these grants. And there's less money this year, Commissioner. There's $35,000 when there's typically about $53,000. There's been a decrease in court fines. So they divvy out the money as best they can for painting, new furniture in lobbies, those type of items.
Yeah, all right. Well, I certainly understand some of the stuff, mattress, sofa, it goes to the service that they're trying to provide. I mean, painting and air conditioning goes more to the service than painting a building, although preserving the building's important as well. But I saw these getting something, and then the Jewish Family and Community Services group got 0. So it just seemed like you could spread it a little better. But appreciate
Again,
the
it's
information.
$35,000.
Well, I understand, but every little bit helps some of these organizations. So thank you.
Commissioner Flowers.
I do apologize, I stepped out. Commissioner Eggers, you asked one of the questions I wanted to ask about Gulf Coast, knowing some of the programs that they have that are relative to that. But I just have a question. I see where if anyone declines an award, you'll kind of put that back in the pot. For West Care, for their ice machine, they asked for $7,000, they only got $2,000. Was it any question in there that said if you don't receive the full amount of funding, would you still be able to utilize the dollars or whatever, so we'd have some kind of inclination about what may be rolling back?
Yes. So again, because the money is so limited, they try and spread it out best they can, so they would have only gotten the $2,000.
Okay. And I'm sorry if the questions were asked while I had to step out. It was my grandson's school, so I do apologize. But thank you.
But if they don't end up purchasing the requests that they need, the money comes back to us, right?
Yes, and we've had to do that in the past.
Okay.
But typically, they do spend it, to be honest.
I understand.
And it's not a lot of funding. It's pretty easy.
Well, I mean, again, with the air conditioning, they're going to do it because it's important. So, but it'd be nice to be able to help out. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 27, this is change order number 2 with RJP Enterprises. This is because they're knocking it out of the park and trying to get the sidewalk backlog done. So we're spending money quicker, and so this augments that funding to be able to complete that program. Item 28, County Incentive Grant Program with Florida with agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation. This is for ITS on State Route 580 Drew Street from Fort Harrison to US 19. So you can see the breakdown in costs. So the county matches $293,000 for a $587,000 project.
This is what I had a question. Oh,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This was the item I had a question on. What kind of cameras are these that are being set up? And from reading it, I know it's not or red light cameras.
No.
But are they like speed cameras or anything like that?
No, but because this is the design piece to it, but go ahead, Kelly.
Kelly Himmerlady, Public Works Director. There's CCTV. They're just used for monitoring traffic. We are our traffic control center, which you haven't come out and seen yet, but love to have both of you come out and then see our operations there. Basically, we use that for monitoring traffic. We'll also have some equipment out there that monitors speed. We use it with our Centrac system so that we can, it has AI and it kind of learns the traffic flows so that it makes it more efficient. But it is not, it does not record. It does not record. It is simply for monitoring traffic. We report crashes when they occur in our traffic control center, things like that.
Dynamic light timing based on that?
That's the type of information is to get the timing of the lights. Okay.
So yeah, it's very important to get Drew Street connected to our system. So, yeah.
There's a lot of places in the county could use that.
We've got a big plan, and we're updating that master plan, so that's something that will be coming forward in
So
2023 as well.
the study that you completed, Kelly, when will that be coming in? So she did a study that of all of our traffic lights that incorporates both St. Petersburg County and Clearwater.
An update to our master plan will be done this spring. We're making sure that the state of Florida DOT is updating their plan in this area. So we're making sure the timing is, they're going to complete theirs about the same time. So we want to make sure that we're aligned.
The idea is if we can get the right technologies, then it doesn't matter who's controlling the lights, and you put AI in it, it adjusts based upon the flow of the traffic to get the maximum use out of your existing roadways. It'd be great because, if you hit three green lights, you think you've, won the lottery. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that presentation. Thanks.
Item 29
Hang
is...
on, Commissioner Eggers had a
sorry.
question on that.
Yeah, sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. On number 27, Barry, which is the sidewalk, we had a couple sidewalk programs going. One to repair the lips and all of the damages that we're having from people's injuries and that kind of thing. But this is another one, right?
No, this is actually the backlog. So this is, last fiscal year, just $4 million in contract services dollars were approved. That was to address the maintenance backlog that had accrued over a number of years, maintenance that exceeded a year in age. So we're at about 88% complete on that work now. As Barry said, we're moving very quickly. Our contractor's been really wonderful to work with, and they're way ahead of schedule. So this is really focused on maintaining what we have, not adding additional.
Okay, because I was reading the part, it says replacement of, removal of a replacement if there's a problem. So the 700,000 is for shortfalls, increase in costs, expansion of the amount of work we actually have?
We have another contract going out to bid, and so it's to hold us over, so that while that contract is going through the process, we don't want to stop the contractor doing the work.
Okay.
That's all it's for. There's no increase in cost, it's just we're just keep doing the same work at the same cost.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Item 29, subrecipient grant agreement with Florida Federal Emergency Management Agency through Florida Division of Emergency Management for the Cross Bayou Watershed Management Plan. You can see the funding breakdown within your packet and the county match, and this is paid for out of the surface water utility fee. Item 30 is renewal of certificates of public convenience and necessity. This is for various ALS first responders, ALS helicopter ambulances, hospitals, and Sunstar. And these are annual renewals. Item 31, Second Amendment to a purchasing authorization with CDW for information technology. You can see the breakdown there. BTS is our IT functions. They use a variety of different CDW contracts for various technology issues within the county. These are all budgeted. Item 32, this is for non-medical wheelchair transport services. 14 firms, 7 of those provide both wheelchair and stretcher vans. And again, this is an annual renewal. You can go through county attorney's items that Jewel covered. And then we get down to county commissioner appointments. And we got appointments to Feathertown Community District. These are for, you've got the commissioners listed there. Next is you've got the historic preservation. It's committee of the whole, so there'll be that'll occur at the meeting.
And you can see that we've got several appointments that are commissioner individual appointments, which you've gotten the information on that, I hope, and then some that we do as a commission as a whole.
I don't know if you want me to go through each one of these. I mean, these are pretty straightforward. And then I know Commissioner Scott has on the back the appointments that are from him that he'll be submitting. Okay, and if no other questions on any of those, I can move on to, we have a lot of public hearings.
Before you do that, let me just, I have one, when they light the Skyway up, different things, Department of Transportation requires a letter or a resolution of approval or non-objection from Manatee, Hillsborough, and Pinellas. And so almost every meeting, we have one or two that we go through. We have a request to light it purple for Superior Mesenteric Artery Syndrome Awareness Day, and so that will be on the agenda Tuesday.
Any updates on the chair appointments, or chair board appointments?
I spoke with Commissioner Long this morning. She hopes to have that full list to us by the end of business today for review before the meeting on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 51 is a countywide map amendment from Office and Preservation to Employment, 13.1 acres, Seminole Boulevard. Currently, the property is 5.5 acres designated upland, while 7.6 remaining or classified as wetlands, including areas where water with no future land use designation. The proposed amendment would designate 5.5 acres of uplands to employment category, allowing the proposed use to maintain its preservation. Ford, Pinellas, and Planners Advisory Committee both unanimously recommended approval. No opposition was received. Item 52 is from the City of Safety Harbor, a countywide map amendment, residential very low to residential medium, 3.6 acres, located on Enterprise Road. This is two parcels right by the CSX railroad tracks. Used to be used as a plant nursery, no longer in use. They're going to use it for single-family attached dwellings. Both groups unanimously recommended approval, and to my knowledge, we haven't received any opposition. Item 53, City of Clearwater, a countywide map amendment, residential low-medium to public, semi-public, 0.891 acres, located on McMillan Booth. There's two portions of the property of a bigger 41-acre property. Two specific locations are amended between Cleveland Street and Cherry Lane. On the west side of McMillan Booth Road, the property is occupied in the north is church. This basically allows the church to revise their comprehensive parking plan. Again, both groups unanimously recommended approval. No opposition has been received. Item 54, this will be continued at the request of the applicant, trying to work with the neighbors. And 55, same, it's a companion piece. That'll be continued. Again, the applicant's attempting to work with the neighbors. Item 56 is a request to change a land use from residential urban to residential low-medium on 2.33 acres in unincorporated Largo. The applicant intended to keep some of the existing units, demolish some, and revise a portion of the site with multifamily residential. The local planning agency held public hearings, approved it at 3-2. Two of the members, or two members of the public appeared in opposition. So this will be heard. You can see the comments below, but I'm sure there'll be public comment on this item. And we'll have a presentation. Item 57 is the item that Joel briefed you on regarding the tower, the radio tower. Item 58 is a request for a zoning change, neighborhood commercial to general commercial and services in Palm Harbor. Subject property is located, let's see, so this is now motor vehicle sales, golf cart sales. Local planning agency recommended approval 4-1. No reason was given for the dissenting vote. No one appeared in opposition. 2 emails and support have been received.
This is quasi judicial, right?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
it is.
It just, because when it says limited uses to motor vehicle sales, I guess that's as specific as we get, because it's really for golf cart sales.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's a lot different when you're trying to sell golf carts on a piece of land than having but this gives them the right to do either one?
Tom, do you know the answer to that? Or Evan behind us? Oh, here's the guy.
Commissioner, the answer is yes, but the conditional overlay was restricted to only golf carts.
Only golf. Thank you.
I didn't see Glenn behind me. All right. Item 59, request for change of land use, transportation utility to residential rural, 4.2 acres. The applicant desires to use the property to an adjacent property east with 3 single-family units for various recreational uses. Local planning agency approved request 5-0. 2 people spoke in oppositions, 4 letters of opposition been received. Primary reason, you can see there below. So this will have public comment. This is not a quasi-judicial. Item 60 is a petition for vacate a portion of a right-of-way. Staff has no objection to this 1-foot by 72-foot vacation. And the final one, item 61, is a petition to vacate a 3-foot piece by 45 foot of a 10-foot drainage easement. Again, staff has no objection to the vacation. That concludes the agenda.
And hopefully, at some point, our new commissioners will get a Reader's Digest difference of legislative versus quasi-judicial on these agenda items that will help your thinking in the long run.
And, as you're digging through, if you have other questions, just give me a call, Well, even on the zoning issues, if you want to, Don can certainly explain the differences between those types of zoning cases, because you're going to hear them on Tuesday, so.
Jewel gave me a little bit of a briefing about that the other day.
Good. Okay, great.
Same for me.
Anything else for the good of the order? I do want to draw your attention, Saturday night, from starting at 5 o'clock activities with the 7 o'clock program beginning, is the first ever Christmas tree lighting in Lellman at Lellman Park on 54th Avenue. And if you are free, I know there's a lot of tree lightings and parades going on in the coming weeks, but if you're out and about and able to join us in Lellman, we'd love to see you. All right, very good. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.